Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Rachel, please take the vote.
Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Ewing,
Yes.
Mrs. Milius,
Yes.
Mr. Hull,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn.
Yes.
Approved.
All right, moving on. Will everyone rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Moving on to the reading of the USD230 mission and vision, we read these at the beginning of every meeting to keep them at the forefront of our thoughts and leading all our decisions. Our mission is to be a school district that engages students to learn, create, adapt, and succeed in an ever-changing world. And our vision is to maintain small town values and empower each student to achieve world-class success. Moving on to 5.01, public participation.
No cards were presented.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the 6.01, approval of the consent agenda, which includes approval of the minutes, clerk's report, treasurer's report, payroll and claims, personnel, the Sunflower House MOU, and teacher requested supplemental materials for our Spring Hill High School Future Health Professional Student Organization.
Madam President, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented in red. I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Rachel, please take the vote.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Ewing,
Yes.
Mrs. Milius,
Yes.
Mr. Hull,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Chitwood.
Yes.
Approved.
Okay, moving on to my favorite part of our meeting, our good news, recognitions, and announcements. Dr.
Yes,
Ochoa.
Mr. Peavy from our Communications Department is going to introduce our recognitions this evening, which again, we are always so happy and proud to see our students that go out and give their best to display their talents and bring great recognition, to Spring Hill Schools. So Mr. Peavy, I'll let you tell us who we have this evening.
Absolutely. Thank you and good evening, everybody. I'm pretty confident we've broken a record for the most amount of people at the good news and recognition portion, but that's exciting because we have so many things to celebrate that we want to highlight. So we have two groups that we're going to recognize today. Generally, I go through each of those groups and we do pictures at the very end. Today, I think we'll do 2 rounds of pictures just for the sake of the crowd here in attendance. So first up, we have some very talented student athletes from our district middle schools. So this evening, we're excited to welcome the 8th grade varsity volleyball teams from each of our 3 middle schools. These talented student athletes from Spring Hill Middle School, Woodland Spring, and Forest Spring not only achieved tremendous success on the court in terms of wins and losses, but also represented the entire Spring Hill Schools community incredibly well through their resilience, work ethic, unity, and their exceptional Bronco pride. I reached out to each of the coaches to kind of get some highlights of the season that I compiled as I put this together. So across our middle schools, the players demonstrated tremendous growth and a fierce competitive spirit. The coaches shared that each of the 3 schools showcased impressive year-long improvement, with many girls stepping into new roles and rising to challenges both on and off the court. In several cases, athletes overcame injuries, unexpected lineup changes, and other sources of adversity, and our teams did so with confidence and composure. The coaches consistently praised these kids for their grit, teamwork, and positivity. Matches were filled with powerful serves, aggressive hitting, smart decision-making, and a relentless defensive mindset. Officials and spectators alike commented on the high level of skill, sportsmanship, and energy that our teams played with throughout the season. Now, the season's defining moment came at the Frontier League tournament, where our 3 schools swept the top 3 finishes for the 8th grade varsity competition, with Forest Spring finishing in 3rd, Woodland Spring 2nd, and Spring Hill Middle bringing home the Frontier League championship. It was a true showcase of district talent, teamwork, and the strong culture being built at every school. And beyond the court, one of the greatest successes was the way that these athletes supported and celebrated one another. Before and after matches, win or lose, they united as one Spring Hill family. And I know I speak for all of us that we cannot be more proud of these student athletes and their coaches for their camaraderie that will serve as the foundation for an incredibly bright future as they join forces soon at Spring Hill High School. So now let's please give these girls a round of applause.
Don't not follow it. Some of them will say yes.
You made it.
Yes. Came straight from fourth quarter Lewisburg.
Basketball coach now.
Yes, yeah, you were up 38-14. So I'm like, okay, JV go in. So cute.
Quite a few, so I'll take my first one here, and then I will get out of the way.
Yeah, right. Wait. Power Did you take it yet? Sorry. Hold on. And I'm ready. Okay.
Okay, let's go one more round of applause. Thank you, guys. That you guys are good. Yeah, you guys are good. Unless you want to stay for the whole meeting, we can find a spot for you. Otherwise-
They're announcing their food. I said no, so don't leave.
Congrats, girls. Can't wait to see what next year looks like. You're all together. Great job.
It was like a fire drill almost, getting everybody out of here. Yeah, I think Mr. Bartley was grabbing the band. A lot of cheers have opened up next. You got it. All right, thank you. Now we do have a second group of students that we need to recognize today, and that is the Spring Hill High School Marching Band and Color Guard. This group of students recently accomplished something that is truly extraordinary at their recent state competition, and something that has absolutely brought a lot of pride to the entire Spring Hill community. So to speak a little more on that, I'd like to invite up Mr. Tristan Bartley and Miss Megan Weaver to talk about our marching band season. And Miss Brother, okay, too. I didn't know if you made it or not.
First of all, I want to thank the Board of Education and all the support we get from Spring Hill. This is a great accomplishment by the students, but we couldn't do it without the support of all of you and all of the hardworking staff. Not all the staff could be here tonight, but we have the color guard staff. But really, it's a thank you and a congratulations to all the students. I hope you remember this one for a long time to come, because this was actually something quite special. So thank you all very much.
And then Mr. Bartley, you didn't realize whenever you came and asked for those uniforms a year ago, that was going to make such a big difference.
It made all the difference in the world. Absolutely. Sorry, sorry. So the band took second place at the Kansas State Championships. That's what happened. So, great. Which is a great honor, took a great jump from out of finals last year to second place this year. And we're going to hopefully keep the ball rolling and keep this train moving down the tracks. But it's a lot to be excited about right now in the band program. So thank you all very much.
You guys are okay. The microphone's on.
I'm gonna say I'm really proud of them. I saw Mr. Bartley came in to this program 3 years ago and took it. He came to the kids and the parents and said, if we want to do better, we have to give more time. And he set his expectations and told them, and it was a group agreement, in my opinion, like, hey, if you guys want some of these higher accomplishments, you're going to have to put in more time, and the kids do. They're at the school every day. You can hear them at 7 a.m. and they're putting in 2 weeks in the summer. They really are working towards this. In this second place over 1 year, and Mr. Bartley, tell me if I'm wrong, last year they got 18th place to second place. This was not just a fluke. This was not just uniforms. This is very hard work and earned award. And I'm really, really proud of you guys.
Yes, that's worth another round of applause. So yeah, congratulations. You know, it's absolutely fantastic. Like Miss Melia said, anytime you can see a group of kids work together over a long period of time to achieve a shared goal. And with something with an ensemble, with marching band and with the color guard, it truly takes every individual member of the band in order for it to hit the ultimate peak of where you guys can be. So just all very proud, and it's an incredible accomplishment. I hope you guys all realize how special it is and also how exciting the future is for the band program. So that said, let's take a second picture. All right, you guys are here. Oh, we didn't bring the trophy.
Oh. Yeah, run over, yeah.
Tall kids in the back.
Also make sure to find it. Yeah, so I can see. It'll take a whole bunch, and now I have to get one good one. Thank you.
Oh, one more. Goodness.
That's fine. Thank you, guys.
Hey, rehearsal starts in 30 minutes.
That's actually true. Yes, there you go.
Not yet.
You're on the clock. We got like an hour and 6 minutes. We gotta go.
I'm not the one that has a 21 slide presentation.
I'm just saying,
Okay, moving on to 8.01, Bond Elementary Edition bid list.
Yes, well, Ms. Mill, usually like the good news category. We're going to stay in the good news category. And Spencer Brown from Newkirk Novak's bringing you guys the elementary bid list for our 3 elementary editions. Keep in mind, the construction estimate for this project going into was $12,800,000. And this is coming in way under that expected. So I'm going to let Spencer talk you through the list, answer any questions you might have when it comes to the bid list.
Thank you, Mark. So what you guys have on the screen here is what we would be asking for approval for tonight, for all of the subcontractors and the total construction cost of, I think, 9.7 million there at the bottom. So to kind of talk through this sheet, so the scope on the far left is all the different scopes of work: concrete, masonry, steel, joint sealants, electrical, et cetera. The middle column is all of the qualified subcontractors. And then you have bids per scope and then sub-base bid. So kind of want to hit on the bids per scope column. When we put this out to bid, we put forth a really big effort to recruit bidders, get a lot of bids because it overall helps your budget. Some of the kind of highlights I want to talk to is, big scopes like steel. We got 9 bids there. The industry average on bids is 3 per scope. So the team did a really good job, worked really hard to get that extra bid. HVAC, another large scope, has 11 bids. So getting those extra bids really helps bring this total cost down. So Elizabeth is back there. She's part of the team. Her and Grace did a really good job of getting bidders excited, making sure they understand the documents, and getting bidder recruit. Some of the couple allowances I want to talk to. So the building responder system, a $300,000 allowance. What that is a lot of the additions. The city or the fire department is requiring a potentially emergency responder radio system. So when you're adding on to a building, a lot of times when the fire department gets called and they're at the front of the building, the signal for the radios cannot reach the back of the building. So it's a system that the fire department is starting to implement on new projects. Part of that is a test that happens when the building or when the addition is complete. And so we don't really know if we have to install this system until the building can be tested. So we're holding allowance for it now in the overall budget, just in case that is a system we have to put in at the end. The tariff.
Is that a Johnson County Fire Department thing, or is that
It's-
kind of nationwide?
It's nationwide. I've seen it on past couple of projects I've done in Blue Springs, Lone Jack. So it's really just a nationwide thing that fire departments are starting to do.
Well, and with what we've recently done with our radios, we've got FCC frequencies. Is there any way that we can leverage that for the fire departments that just tap into the frequencies we already have at the buildings? Just curious. I mean,
Yeah, I could ask that question. I'm not for sure. A lot of times from when I've had to do it, it's a delegated design. It's a standalone system. But that's just on the couple of past projects that I've had to do with it. There wasn't a system already in place that you guys may have that could be used. The tariff allowance is just, as you know, the market can be a little bit volatile right now with tariffs. We've been holding an allowance in there on projects recently, just in case things come up. So basically anything that was bid as of bid day, a tariff that's in place, that subcontractor has it. This would be for anything that comes up between now and the end of the project. If a tariff gets implemented, that allowance could be used to cover that. And we would provide the full sub backup material pricing that they had at bid versus what the tariff might have raised the cost if that were to come up. So like Mark said, total cost is at 9.7, so that's $3.5 million under budget for the total bond budget for the elementary school. So really good news, allows a lot of flexibility on future projects, CTE for the high school, HVAC. So it's a good way to start the bond projects. From a square foot standpoint, price per square foot, we're running at $529 a square foot, based off of the 9.7 number. Any questions regarding the bid summary sheet?
yeah, just real quick, I had the good fortune of sitting here for the better part of it. And it was really a learning experience when you were unsealing the bids, right? And then I went through the I went through all the backup and the supporting documentation behind this document.
Yep.
And so what I was just really curious for, I know it's a long shot when it happens, but basically everybody that we saw when the bids were opened was a qualified bid. In other words, somebody that maybe came in second place did not usurp who came in first on bid opening because they didn't meet qualifications, right?
Correct. Yeah, there
Okay.
wasn't any low bids that you don't see here that weren't unqualified to where we had to go to the second guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't pay attention when I was rifling through them on the green ones. So,
Yep.
Yeah, and I was fortunate to attend as well, and one thing to share with my fellow board members and everyone, one of the things that comes along with this is the bid bond from each of the subcontractors. And so if for some reason they're not able to complete, there's a bond in place
Yep.
that covers the completion at that rate. So these are the costs.
Yep. Yeah, and part of that bid process is they have to have that bond as part of their bid package.
great news.
Yeah, it's a great start. So we're excited.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts regarding our elementary additions? Okay, well, thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you, guys. All right, let's keep the good news rolling. 8.02, the DLR amended contracts.
Yeah, so before you this evening are the amended DLR contracts. The ones we brought to you a couple weeks ago went off a different estimated construction bid. This falls in line with the overall contract that you guys agreed to. They talk about the compensation for each one, and DLR goes with a 6.5% for any new or addition onto a building off of the estimated construction costs. And so if you take the 12.8 by the three buildings, it's like 4,266,000 and a lot of sixes after that with everything. So what you have before you is three contracts, one for each elementary. You actually have four overall, but one for each elementary addition with a 6.5% off of the 4.2666667. And then the other one is for the HVAC system with DLR and their engineers helping us with that. That is at a 4.5% of the estimated construction cost. And the estimated construction cost for the HVAC right now that we're getting from Newkirk is $11,366,932. And so those are the four contracts that you have before you this evening. And they're just peels off of the overall arching contract that you guys agreed to with DLR.
Yeah, the only question I have on these is this HVAC work done? Is the actual architecture and engineering?
They have gotten
place?
some information to
Are-
Nuremberg. I don't know if they're complete yet, but I know they've gotten some initial information from the engineer to Newkirk Novak.
Okay.
Do you know? I don't think it's completely
Yeah.
done.
It won't be complete till the first part of December when they'll have final documents to us, but they're working on it.
Well, and the reason why I ask is because that the Newkirk stuff is based on educated guesstimations. And so the next follow-on question is, so if for some reason that changes substantially and would have changed the scope of this, do they come back or this is it? This is the fee? If they come back and go, oh my goodness, we can't.
Well, from my understanding, and I'm just going to be honest with you, this is that. They're going for the Newkirk estimate. From the first one, they had the wrong estimate. That they built the first three contracts off for the elementary additions. So when Mrs. Millions actually started asking questions, they went back and they realized they had the wrong estimate. But they have assured me that the 11 million is the correct estimate that they have from Newkirk Novak when it comes to the HVAC.
That's great.
for the
I'm
three-
just,
yeah.
as long as it works out the way they think it's going to work out. And if it doesn't,
If it doesn't, we can go back to them
okay,
and look at
okay.
it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mark, I'll just, I was really happy to see an email in my inbox today from Prairie Creek, basically notifying all the parents of the traffic pattern changes and fences going up and the notification process.
Yeah,
So nice job.
thanks.
Okay, any other questions about the DLR amended contracts? Okay, thank you.
Okay. It's still me. I'm just good.
Well, good. More good news coming from you. 8.03, the MOU addendum to the 199th Street project.
Yes, so on the August 11th school board meeting, you guys agreed on the MOU between USD 230 and the city of Spring Hill when it comes to the Ridgeview, not the Ridgeview, the 199th project. With everything before you this evening are the two contracts. One is the release of the easement for a while so they can do construction with it. And the other one, I believe, is the stormwater drainage for them to do work on that. I do have Allison Abel here from the city of Spring Hill to talk to you about these contracts and address any questions you might have regarding those two contracts, but they are based off the MOU that you guys came into an agreement with.
So with the improvements that we are doing on 199th Street from Ridgeview to Renner, there will be some storm improvements made. That will include enclosed storm sewer. We do need easement along the school's property in order to put in that system that's not currently there today. Also to do some of the grading with the trails and some of the other improvements associated with the roadway, we need to have what's called temporary grading or temporary construction easements to provide us the room to grade it. We will restore any of those areas that are disturbed back to their original condition. So those would be seeded so that we can reestablish the growth and have vegetation there. I'm available if you guys have any additional questions. These are our standard form easements that we've gotten from all the property owners within this corridor in order to do the project.
Yeah, it sounds like nothing's changed. I mean, it's still same scope of work and all. Okay, same.
So to give you a few updates, so this is still the same easements that we had with the MOU that we presented to you. This is just a formality to come before you to get the official authorization to sign those easements. We did take this project out to bid. We received, I believe, bids from 6 contractors about a week and a half ago. The low bidder was about $1 million lower than our engineer's estimate, which that's always good that we're not the lowest bidder. So we are still within budget on that. To give you a little snapshot, we did receive the bids for the concrete sidewalk, and that was within line of what was included in the MOU. What was included in the MOU was a price of about $109,000. If you take into consideration the cost that the contractor provided, we're at $117,000. So we're a little bit higher, but we wanted to give you guys that discount for the 2021 pricing. So we're right in line with where we want to be.
Okay. Well, thank you. I don't think there's any more questions. I think that's wonderful. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Allison. Okay. 8.04, playground equipment and servicing upgrades at Prairie Creek Elementary School.
Yes, this is Kylie Delphia's project. He is at Arrowhead Stadium right now. So I told him I would do the best I possibly could on that. And I just want to talk about the playground structure itself when it comes to this grant he's applied for. I know on our facility list, when Kylie and I have been working on it, the playground at Prairie Creek Elementary School is about 20 years old and is different than all the other elementary schools we have. They still have wood chips compared to the AstroTurf or the turf that the other schools have, and they still have the older equipment taken available. So Kylie has applied for the grant that he has applied for in the past, and he has been awarded that grant, and that helps for the cost of the main playground structure. And the main playground structure is a total of $174,784.42. And the grant will cover half of that, and we will be responsible for covering, I'm sorry, I gotta get my readers on, $95,882.71. And that does include a tariff surcharge of $5,244 and also the freight and shipping of $3,200 on that cost. And this is the same main playground equipment at the other schools that they have. And I'm bringing this to you for a vote, hopefully more discussion, vote in November. We need to notify the company by the end of November whether we can accept this grant or not when it comes to this assistance with the playground structure with that.
So, and if I remember right, when we did Spring Hill Elementary, the turf, that'll be an additional.
It is. And we don't have the exact numbers for
Right.
you because he's wanted to keep that close to within the, what it is at Spring Hill Elementary. But yeah, you are still going to have turf, the pouring of the concrete, the cost of the swings and any other additional playground equipment. So we are looking at, I would say, close all together in the ballpark of about $430,000 altogether for this project.
Yeah, and that's kind of my ask too, which is we kind of got this piecemeal the last time. And
Yeah.
I'd really like the whole thing.
Okay.
Well,
That's
and
my
did
personal
we have
preference.
this budgeted anywhere?
We have talked to Mr. Holder. We do have an allowance, a capital outlay to help cover this playground equipment. It is carried over 2 fiscal years, the time. So we'll have some expenses out of this year's fiscal for capital outlay and also next year when it comes to some of the projects taken care of. But he can probably address that better than I can. But we have talked to Mr. Holder about this.
And I do think that, again, not speak for Mr. Holder, that they were able to go back and look at what the total cost was for the playground in 2024 and then 2024. And then, so Mr. Holder has looked at that cost, again, allowed for some cost increase and is already budgeting over the next 2 fiscal years to incorporate that into the capital outlay budget so that he can meet that number that Mr. Williams threw out. But they are aware that the piecemeal and the taking out the existing equipment, putting it in the new, all that is pricing that they're going to have to get, but it shouldn't be much higher than what it was in 2024. Mr. Holt, if you want to add anything to that.
No, I think that pretty much covers it. The not to exceed number is something when I met with Mr. Williams and Mr. Delphia that we talked about. One of my first questions, which Mr. Williams addressed, was that would this be all in one fiscal year or over the course of 2? And the answer is 2, because the equipment, if this is successful and we move forward, would be purchased in this fiscal year. The actual construction piece that goes along with it, the playground surfacing, whatever it is that we select, would be in addition to that, along with any site work that goes along with that, as well as the removal of the old playground equipment. There will likely be a cost associated with that. So all in is the number that we talked about. The cost will hit, and part of that is an unknown, which is not, the most enviable position to be in, but we feel pretty confident of the number that it will not exceed, around the $430,000 mark that Mr. Williams alluded to earlier. So over the course of 2 fiscal years, I'm very confident. And I would also say that this is a small piece of the larger picture that Mr. Williams, Mr. Delphi, and I will be working on over the next few months, which is, we have an outline from the meetings that occurred last year. And this is part of that. This is mentioned as part of that project. But where we want to get to is a budget for each fiscal year that outlines the next 5 years and what we can allocate from capital projects. So we're not there yet, but that's where we will get to.
Is there a resale value on the old stuff, or is it pretty much mangled by the time you get it out?
My past experience is it's very hit and miss. I would not count on any resale value, but if there's any to be received, then that would just be a bonus.
Yeah, typically when you have a company that comes in to take it out, they just come in with the heavy equipment and which pretty well does mangle it a lot.
The guy who takes it to the scrapper gets the money, and I don't know, steel hasn't been over 100 a ton in forever. So
you don't want to mess with it.
no, I don't.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah, one of the questions I would have is, overall footprint, whether we're changing that and looking at it in terms of not just putting back the footprint that's there, but are we scoping this to provide the right footprint for everybody to run around and have fun?
Well, and Mark, if you
The
don't
other
mind,
ones-
let me kind of pile on to that
Yeah.
because I'm really familiar with it, right? We've got three pieces there that are relatively new. I think 2 or 3 years old. I'm not sure if the PTO or who it was provided those three pieces. Will anything be salvaged or does it all get wiped clean? And then the second part of that too, and this relates to the footprint. You've got the footprint of the playground area, but then you've also got the blacktop. And when I was reading some of the background information in here, as you said, Nathan, there was, the surface, obviously the wood chips are gone, hallelujah, right? But I could have swore I read something in there about resurfacing. So is there anything that's taken into account or consideration for resurfacing of the blacktop area? What happens to that? Because it's about equal to the area of the playground itself,
Yeah,
right?
And I don't know if I can, and Kylie
Okay.
has not mentioned to me about
Right.
resurfacing the blacktop. If we're gonna go equal with all the other elementaries that have this, we'd be looking at about 10,000 square feet when it comes to the turf and the equipment area when it comes to it now. And I don't know the exact size of the playground area currently with the wood chips section.
Yeah, and I'm just curious, but
Yeah.
again,
But
some
yeah.
things for you guys to be
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah, and I think if it's newer equipment, then we can definitely keep some of that equipment to go along with the additional playground equipment for the kids.
Doug, I would assume they'd seal coat the existing blacktop.
that's what I kind of.
Yeah.
As opposed to replacing it.
Yeah, and kind of my follow-on comment would be, a real site plan for this, and that's kind of my comment, because there were some things that popped up in the last implementation that their renderings, as nice as they are, didn't match that actual implementation, and we had to deal with stuff
Yep.
on the fly there. And then my other question goes along with probably Ms. Weber back there, Dr. Weber. Are there any adaptive needs that this is hitting? Has that been taken into account?
On the picking out of the equipment.
Yeah, on the design and stuff. Thumbs up back there.
Discussion yet, we will be part of the discussion as we get further along.
I think that sounds great.
Yep.
My only comment is there's a large monkey bars gym, jungle gym thing. It's very tall, and I think it's been the source of a lot of broken arms. Does that hit it out? Okay, thank goodness.
Yep.
Including my child. So,
Yeah.
wonderful. I like hearing that.
And sorry, I do have one more thing, which is I'd like the actual specs for this included.
Okay.
How big the holes are, how deep the holes are, what the pour is, all that good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? Okay. Well, thank you very much. Okay, 8.05. Ooh, we're changing it up. Technology Department update.
Yeah.
Yeah, Billy and the technology department were busy, always busy, but they just thought they could give a recap of some of the I worked on from the time that we ended the school year back in late May up through the mainly busy months of the summer and what's been evident that's different. So
Yeah.
Mr. Terry, give us a quick update. If you don't
All right,
mind.
well, thank you for giving me a few minutes to brag about my department. That's one of the reasons I applied for this position. Had to have a crew of a lot of great people and I'm proud to work with them. So one of the big projects we had this summer was replacing all of the classroom projectors. That was a project that Phil started back last year. You guys approved it and we got it done over the summer. That includes testing all of the Dayton Creek ones, because we circled that back, all of those back into our spares for replacements, which with the storms in the early summer or early start of the school year and your standard DOA when you buy a bulk stuff, you know, they came in handy to have those things. One of the things I want to mention here, something I'm extremely proud of, is these people that you're seeing here are student workers that came to work for us over the summer. They are all tied to Spring Hill in one way, shape, or form. The very first one is Jenna Weber, who is the daughter of Christy Weber in our department. The two gentlemen are Owen Dalton and Martin Freegun. Owen is JC's son, and obviously Martin is Clay's son. They are KU and K-State, but they got along great. And the final one there is Mia Anderton, another recent grad of Spring Hill who left us a little early in the summer to go off and get married, and she's doing her teaching, student teaching right now. I think down by Pitt somewhere. I think is where she's at, and will be a teacher someday soon. Just really proud of these guys and having the opportunity to do that. Not only is it a great job for these kids who were very, very appreciative of, you know, having the opportunity to work here. It was hard work. It's very long and tedious. They're climbing up these ladders in every classroom, screwing and unscrewing projectors, testing everything, lining up everything on the screen. As you can see, the blue screen in the background there. A lot of tedious work, but they were very proud to be here and excited to be here. I'm glad to have them. One of the other things that we got done this summer was refreshing all of our iPads across the district. We brought them all back to the ESC, and all of our kindergarten, second and 6th through 12th iPads are brought back, wiped down, clean, repaired, obviously charged because they're never charged when we get them back from students, but prepared to go back out. All those bags that you see are how we handle the deployment and return from the secondary students, because they get the same device back. The buildings help us get those students, put them in a bag with their chargers, a name tag of who it belonged to. They get cycled through the system and get back to them the next year when they come back. As you can tell, that was a lot of iPads just from those alone. That was over 3,200 of student iPads that we got in. The other part of that was replacing Chromebook carts at the elementary schools with these iPads, which we purchased a little over 1,000 iPads, brought back all the Chromebook carts, cabled them, rewired them, and got the new iPads ready for them. That includes unboxing them, which is just a nightmare in itself. Getting them charged, getting them installed, getting them ready to go, getting them all in cases, which cases have to come out of boxes. It's a lot of logistics. Some of the other things we did. Those are the two of the big projects that we had. But some of the other things that sometimes people don't remember go through the tech department is just Skyward in general, our SIS, end of year reporting, online registration, closing out and rolling over the new school year, security, software updates, all that good stuff goes through our department. Staff management, new staff, new accounts creations, and removing old staff changes, move add changes, all come through our department. We deal with hundreds and hundreds of accounts every summer. Other parts of technology that got done over the summer, we had our buildings, their PA system for the overhead paging, which also includes security alerts like Centegix that go through those overhead speakers up in the ceiling. They all run off of computers, and so those got updated. Our security camera streaming server, which is the server that all the SROs and the principals and whatnot log into to see their cameras, was on its last legs and needed to be replaced, and that got done over the summer. And part of that, doing that was also giving us the ability to upgrade to the newest version of our security camera software, which is all leading up to a bigger project of expanding the system for the needs that the district's going to have as we grow. Things that need to get done. Also, all the little incidental things like digital clocks on the wall and things that people don't think about that come through the tech department. Again, move, add changes and deletes, lots of accounts, phone changes, staff moves when a teacher moves from one class to another or one building to another, their phone, their voicemail, all that stuff has to be programmed and configured in our systems. It's a lot of work, but it gets done. Some of the other things we do is new staff training and deployment of devices to all of our new staff, getting their accounts set up, getting them on their devices, a little bit of how you use this device. We lean a lot on our building staff as well to go to the details, but to get them started and with their device in hand, we help them with that. And that is the crew that we do that with. A bunch of people that I am proud to work with. Very glad to have them on the team. I will point out that it looks like a rather large team, but 2 of those are only half mine. We split them with the facilities department. We still managed to get a lot done. Small but powerful.
You know, what's interesting, Billy, is when I was going through your deck in preparation for the meeting and I saw the actual team together like that, it kind of blew me away. Simply because my previous employer, we had 65 employees and our IT staff was exactly the same size for 65 employees. So just the fact that you not only manage staff, but then on top of that, all of the things that come along with the students as well, you guys do a really fine job.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, it comes with the mentality. Tech people are trying to be organized, right? And so there's a lot on our plate every day. Our ticket system. We go through a lot of tickets every day, every week. As y'all know, August is always pretty insane. I think we did over 1,000 tickets this year in August alone. So that's just support tickets, not all those other things that we were talking about that we have to do and get done. That's just, hey, I can't get into this, or this doesn't work, or, it's a lot that goes on, but we manage, we get it done. We chug on through.
Awesome. On the projectors and old iPads, are they going out to the auction system, or are we hanging on to them for a minute? Or
the projectors are gonna probably go out on an auction site.
Okay.
We don't have any iPads that we're getting rid of right now. We're cycling everything back down.
Okay.
We keep them as long as we possibly can. Once they're not, I don't want to say not, they get cycled down to elementary and kindergarten. Yeah. Once
they get right sized
for
the processing power needed at that grade level.
Chromebooks, not a lot of people in the market for 5 and 6 year old Chromebooks.
No?
Yeah, no. We were blessed to have a company that took them off our hands, and I haven't heard exactly if he gets anything for them. He usually donates it to Chef, but I have not heard what that was. So hopefully we'll hear soon. If he may be still holding on to them, I don't know. Again, not a big market for them.
Okay, well, that's some great work. Can I put a request in? Could we have a wall clock in our board room that needs some adjusting?
Sure.
Add it to your list.
Or could we just get a digital clock?
Something like that.
Sure.
We struggle with time, so.
I'm not sure a new clock is in the budget.
Yeah, it may not. Well, maybe we get one of the downgraded ones from another place. And just hang on to one Chromebook, because I'm still a Chromebook user.
Yeah, we'll always have a few. They're very great for the things that we use them for, like kiosk devices. We keep them in the buildings. That's how the buildings do hands-on, like registration when parents come into the building. In kiosk mode, nobody has to log into it. It's deleted when they log out, so nobody's personal email is kept on the device. So it's a handy device for that nothing else fills the void for. So.
Thanks, Billy. Okay, moving on to 8.06 Student Assessment Report, Part 2.
Hello, good evening. I'm back to tell you some more about assessment data. Hope you do it. Okay, so this time I'm here to share with you a little bit more about our Kansas State assessment. Again, this is English language arts, math, and science assessments. And you can see here what grades we give those to, just kind of a reminder. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and X out of that. That we give ELA and math to grades 3 through 8 and then 10th grade. And then science is given to grades 5, 8, and 11. So as I go through this data on here, those are the grades that have been tested. You guys had asked last time for a little bit more about our buildings specifically. So I put on here some information that is just for our schools. And this is our brick and mortar schools. So this is the percent of students that are at levels 3 and 4, which is what is considered proficient now by the state. So you can see there, I broke it up into elementary and secondary just so you could see it a little bit more clearly. So here's our elementaries. What percentage of those students are at a level 3 and 4 as compared to the state? And then here is our secondary. I would like to point out that our biggest increase in math was at Spring Hill High School that had an increase of 23% at levels 3 and 4. That's really, really big. And then I have our ELA data here, and this is for our elementary students. In this one, I would like to point out that our biggest increase was at Spring Hill Elementary School, which increased 21% in levels 3 and 4. And here is our secondary data. And then science. So at the elementary level, you can see here what the percent of students in levels 3 and 4 are compared to the state. And the biggest jumps we had here was Wolf Creek Elementary grew 19% and Dayton Creek grew 18%. So those were our biggest increases in science. And then here's our secondary. This one's actually really big. I would like to point out Spring Hill Middle School increased 31% in levels 3 and 4. And again, science or Spring Hill High School, you'll see is NA because they did not report 11th grade data across the state for science.
Did the state percentages increase in any of these?
I can actually tell you that specifically. So I did calculate that and the percentage, we were well above what the state average was. So for math, the state increase was 7 points in levels 3 and 4 combined. In ELA, it was 10. And in science, it was 8. So our increases are well above what the average across the state was, which is clearly it was intentional work being done. Okay.
Kristen, before you move on, can you back up real quick to science at the elementary level?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I keep bringing this up, best practices, right? And so clearly there are some things that are working really well at some schools that is not necessarily working well at others. And so what is your department doing to take those best practices at those higher performing schools and kind of share that with the other schools throughout the district? Am I getting ahead of your presentation?
No, this is great.
Okay.
So what we would do, well, what we always do anytime we look at our data is see where there's the biggest growth, and then we'll find out what is they're doing there. So is it teacher classroom instruction that they're doing? Is it Do we need to take a look at what their schedules look like instructional time? How much time are they spending with each of these subjects? Different things like that. So we will look and see where our pockets of growth are and then see what's different in those buildings. And then as any good PLC, works, figure out then what can we do? What pieces of that can we implement in our other schools? What can we share across? So yes, that's exactly what we're doing. Okay. I did want to share with you then how we as a district compare with just some of our local districts. I did not put their names up here, but you all can see, you have your little sheets. So as you can see here, when compared to other Johnson County schools, we are second when it comes to proficiency in math. Here's ELA. And science. So we are right at the top in Johnson County. And then as you look at Miami County, we again are very near the top. Here's math, ELA, and science. So currently across Johnson and Miami, we are second of all of the districts in both of those counties, which is a really big accomplishment. The other data that I have provided here is us compared to school districts in the Frontier League, which is our current league. So there's a few more of them there, and you can see them compared to the state also. But again, in math, we are second. ELA, we are second. And science, we are second. And I did look at a few others that are not in here, but regardless of where we compare ourselves, because I know we're moving to the UKC, in that one, actually, we are first in everything but science, we are second. And if you're looking at us compared to our neighboring district or neighboring counties like Wyandotte, Douglas, Leavenworth, we are first or second in every one of those as well. So we're clearly moving the right direction. We're doing very well. But again, like we are saying, as a team, we're always looking for improvement. There is no, we've reached the top. So we will always be looking at what we're doing, what can we be doing better. We have lots of plans, as I did share last time, but just I'm going to kind of recap them a little bit, but using our data dashboard that we're going to be implementing to just have better access to all different kinds of student data. So we can see and look in data across the district and use more of that PLC approach actually at the building level as well. We're looking at best practices in instruction really carefully, like providing any professional development that may be needed for our staff. If we see that there's some needs there, making sure our students are really comfortable with the assessment platforms themselves. So that's not a barrier to students taking those assessments. Again, looking at professional development for all of our staff members, making sure they understand what high impact instructional strategies are. And when we see examples of that, asking them, how we can share that amongst other teachers. And we have started working on vertical teams, so both horizontal and vertical teaming across the district. So they can share more of those practices and make sure there's good coherence and skill progression for our students. So all areas that will continue to improve student outcomes. Do you have any other questions for me?
I have just a couple questions. Did we have any areas or grade levels that decreased year over year? Because when we look at it in total for our district, it looks amazing. But are there, when you guys dial in, are you looking at that so that year over year you can tell?
Yes, we will. Yeah, we'll dig in and look at, just so we know if there are specific areas that maybe need more support than others, as well as the ones who are really excelling and seeing what they're doing well. So we can provide that targeted support also for any staff members, buildings, teacher teams, whoever may need it.
And then in math at the high school, you
Mm-hmm.
talked about a huge increase. And I know that there was questions
Sorry,
with the cut scores, the new cut scores, and that skewing that increase. What are other districts seeing at high school level for their math?
So the actual, sorry, let me try to get to, am I on the right one? Yes. So the actual increase or statewide in math was an increase of 7%. And we saw a 23%. So it wasn't because of a change in the cut scores. In Johnson County, most of our districts, we saw about a 10% increase. And again, we had a 23, so that's not, you can't attribute that just to like the changing and what the assessment is like.
I just had a couple of questions. I know that there's some kind of encouragement or trends for people to opt their kids out of state assessments. Are we seeing that here? And if we are, how does that hurt some of this or skew some of the data so you really maybe isn't as accurate as it could be?
Well, a couple of things. Yes. Anytime a parent does opt their child out of taking the assessment, we are dinged for it. And that is, we do have a certain percentage that must take the assessment for state like compliance and accreditation. So it is a little bit problematic. But so far we're not at a number that would be problematic for us that I'm aware of. Nope, we're not close to that right now. So, but it is something to keep in mind that it is a state requirement, so.
Okay. And then the other question I had is just like, what are some other factors that you see that, could you see any other trends other than just like what's happening at school? Like, are there trends that show you that, you know, it follows along kind of socioeconomics or, you know, one school maybe has more kids on IEPs or are there any of those factors that you see?
You definitely will see some of that. Well, our data dashboard will really help us be able to tell that a lot better. We'll be able to kind of put some different factors together and see if we can see some of those trends. We do typically look at things like students who have IEPs. We will take a look at that and just see. And because when you look at your certain subgroups, we do want to make sure we're meeting the needs of all of the kids. So we do look at those and take those into account when we're looking at the data as well. So,
Okay.
Yes, we do.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions for Ms. Zook?
Nope. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for all the info tonight. Okay, moving forward, 8.0, 8.07 Board Management Platform. Looks like we have Dr. Robinson.
Look at that. I'm coming not because this is my area, but as the spokesperson for a larger group. And so I'll probably look to some of them for help as we go. I'll tell you a little bit about how we got to this point, what we've done, what our recommendation is, and then what I really need tonight is some feedback from you all. As you'll see, the recommendation that we're bringing to you, there are a bunch of different modules that we could purchase. And I'll talk through those a little bit. And then I need some feedback before we request a contract as to what modules maybe you all see as beneficial. So in July, right after we signed our contract with Diligent Community, they notified us that the product we had, I think their actual email gave us 30 days to make a decision as to whether or not we would renew with them. We didn't do so. We communicated with them. They've given us until the end of our current contract, which is July 1st. So we initiated a process of looking at board platforms that are out there. I think we looked at 4 different platforms that we actually heard presentations from vendors. Mrs. Henderson, Mrs. McLaughlin, and I screened all of them up front. Some of them we've probably heard from more than we would ever hope to because they're true salespeople. And then we set up a more formal opportunity for kind of our finalists to come in and give presentations. Mr. Chipwood sat in on that, as well as Mr. Terry from a technology standpoint. What we're doing tonight is presenting information. We've got some flexibility, so please don't misunderstand the timeline here. We will, unless there's a big hiccup, we will bring this back to you in November with a full contract to consider. If we need to take it into December for approval, we can. Their assembly that we're recommending is telling us 3 to 4 weeks lead time before we could start working within their system. So that's a pretty short turnaround, but that would mean that with a November or December approval, January or February, we would be able to have both systems running, make sure everything gets switched over appropriately before Diligent Community expires July 1. So I'm going to show, I don't normally show a video in a board meeting, but I'm going to show a short video if it works. And that'll let me buzz through the slides after it, but it is the representative from Assembly sharing a little bit about Assembly. And we'll see, Billy, you may have to help me if we'll see if this works.
Hey, my name is Charlie Rigby. I'm here to walk you through just a brief high-level overview of Assembly. We're actually owned by the Georgia School Boards Association, so that's a big differentiator for us. We're mission-driven to serve public education. That's literally why we exist. And one of the things we built, this comprehensive solution, has 6 different components to it. You can pick and choose the pieces that you need. When you use more than one, they all talk to each other and share data, so they're all integrated with each other. It's very common, too, that folks may start with 1 or 2 modules and grow into additional ones over time. And they help with all the different areas of your core kind of governing documents, and it really helps managing that be really more streamlined and incredibly easy, saves a tremendous amount of time, but also lets everybody that needs to access information, allows them to be all informed and promotes transparency and alignment. So these different modules, policies, meetings, planning, evaluations, and there's communications and documents. Again, they all help with different components of your governance work. I wanted to sort of pull up this example site. I mean, of course, you can build out your Assembly site, the look and feel of it. We customize that for you, but you can always modify it. If I wanted to, I'm not logged into any of these, so I'm viewing this as a member of the public. However, if I were to log in, a lot more content or different types of meetings may show up. So when I go to their meeting listing page, you can see this upcoming or previous meetings. I can filter by those, date and time. If the minutes are published, this little icon's lit up, and some people might just want to jump straight to the minutes in that meeting. And I love seeing this too. They're sharing not just their board meetings, but different types of meetings. But of course, I can always filter by any of those. Same thing with the policies. They're sharing their board policy manual. Their codification structure is here on the left. And you can kind of go look at any of the content here on the right. You can search by code or title. What type of a document is this? You can actually determine what these are, and you can filter by them. Is it a policy or regulation, an exhibit? We'll also see people putting in administrative procedures or operating procedures. What's the last revised date or the last reviewed date? But I do love that they're also sharing additional types of manuals, an activities handbook, parent-student handbook, and so on. There is a powerful search tool that's built into Assembly. You do not have to be logged in to do this. You can go to any Assembly site and click the search button up top, and you put in, maybe you want to know, how are folks handling the topic of artificial intelligence in their board meetings or in their policy work? And you, not only searching this site, you can actually search all other sites that you want. So maybe somebody around your state or maybe across several states. Maybe you want to also search Georgia and maybe, I don't know, Missouri. You can also filter your search results by student population size. Maybe you don't care about seeing results from a really small district. You want to see, you know, folks similar in size to you. I just click search. It's usually a pretty quick search. Yeah, there we go. Here's all the meeting search results, and then here's all the policies. And if I open up one of these states, you know, maybe click on one of these, you can see that it found 3 meetings here, 5 meetings there. So if I open one up, here's the 2 meeting agenda items that it found that word artificial intelligence on, and it also found it in a work session. So really neat, highlights that word or phrase wherever it's found. And if it finds it inside of a document, it highlights the document as well. And if you wanted to go to that specific Assembly site and see that meeting, it takes you right there. Here, it found it on the agenda on this item, and then there it is. We even have Google Translate embedded into every page. So maybe you have a parent, you know, whose native language is Spanish and they want to read the agenda in their native language. You can do all that. Also, when your meeting agenda is ready to go, you control when you publish it. It can go to the public or individual users, totally however you want to do that. But if you want to send an email notification, Assembly takes care of that for you. It knows exactly who needs to get the email automatically. You can CC or BCC anybody. And if you want to include an outline in the email, you just check this box. And if there's a Zoom integration, with one click, it includes the Zoom link. It'll include that in the email if you want it to. They can add it to their calendar. It'll insert the board member's name for you. The meeting's been published. You can review it by clicking here. So that'll take them straight to the meeting. And if they're logged in, they'll be able to see everything. Otherwise, if they're not logged in, they'd be viewing it as a member of the public. I am logged in right now, and I wanted to kind of show this example as well. You see that there's some executive session items. I've marked those as confidential, which is that padlock. It's a great safety tool here too. So if you want to check what's this going to look like to the public, you can toggle it over to that public view and you can see those items just disappear. So it's really easy to protect any of that information. There's all kinds of printing capabilities. You can print the agenda, the tasks, the minutes. You can print the full meeting packet with all supporting materials. There's tons of options here. Do you want a cover page, page numbers? Do you want to include a watermark or confidential items? Yes or no? And it takes a minute to generate a packet, so I saved one to my desktop a while back. You can see your logo could be here. I put a watermark on here. There's the table of contents. There's some footer text that I put on here. It auto page numbers everything for you. And you can even jump to different sections. Like this just took us to page 113. There's the item, but you see how there's attachments here. Assembly will place those attachments in the order that you attach them and place them immediately after each item. So a lot of folks love that they can easily generate packets on the fly. Also with taking meeting minutes, it automatically kind of populates that stuff for you. There's a recommendation area. You can attach, it generates your meeting minutes for you automatically. It'll automatically attach policies for you. Maybe you have a relevant policy to this graduation item. Well, if you have the policy module, with one click, it'll generate a PDF of that policy and just embed it right there where it belongs. So all of this stuff sort of talks to each other and makes it incredibly easy. In the policy module as well, from the administrative side, you're able to see drafts and adopted versions. That's anytime you see something yellow in Assembly, it's just you're working on it, it's in progress. But you can filter by draft status. You can filter by original adopted, last revised, last reviewed. And of course, there's all kinds of printing options. It automatically saves your version history as well. So it might be helpful down the road to know what was your policy on that 2 years ago. You can easily go and see that. You also can't delete adopted policies. You can rescind them, but you can't delete them. That's a safety feature. But if I tried to edit an adopted policy, it creates an immediate duplicate, and I'm just working in there as an admin. So you can see I've got track changes turned on. You can turn on inline comments. I can always export to Word. I can delete this one because it's a draft. I can print it, email it, and then that pencil obviously is for administrators to be able to edit. And there's even a work in progress dashboard that makes it really easy to sort of manage your draft policies or your approved ones. You can even batch approve and all that. But it's really just intended to make your life so much easier and aligned. So if you have any questions on that, please let me know. Again, it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to share this with you. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.
So as you can see, there's a lot that we were looking for that it does intuitively. Everything from Zoom to some of the things he didn't highlight, you can assign tasks. So as you're going through and discussing, which happens at almost every board meeting, your board clerk or somebody who is editing can assign those to various administrators. You can collaborate on every document. So everything from policy to the documents that are being created for meetings. So there's just a lot of positives. I put some things on here. John, do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, I'll chime in. Thank you. Number one, I appreciate being invited to participate. I hope I represented the interests of the board well. One of the things that I liked about this company versus the other is I brought up an issue with all the potential vendors of, one of the biggest problems that I think that we have is, and I'll just use tonight's agenda as an example, when we get down to action items, 9.01, when it's 9 months from now and we want to look this up, you get 9 million results. And so when I brought up the idea of, hey, could you enhance your search functionality so we can search for approved or unapproved action items with respect to like DLR contract? this organization gave us a response of, oh, nobody's ever asked that, but that sounds like a really good idea. We should do that. That was not the response of anybody else, which that to me speaks volumes of this is somebody we want to work with. There were a number of things in there that just in terms of, and I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I think the tools to manage the workflow and who's responsible for what and, making the clerk's job, can I say easier or more efficient or happier? It was one of those, if not all of those things, which, I fully support getting behind. I think the only thing that tell me if I'm imagining this, we can, and I may be, we can pay essentially a transition upgrade fee, and they'll port things over for us. So staff doesn't have to worry about porting all that over. Does that?
Yeah, that's a great lead in. So from a cost standpoint, there's a couple things not on this cost document that'll be one time. One, their fee for moving all of our past history. And actually in board docs currently, you go back quite a ways, which is fantastic. You don't want to lose that. There will be a fee for that, which I want to say was, I'm going to make it up. I want to say
it was like under $2,000.
It wasn't
a lot.
And their movement of policy. So if you knew what it looked like when we moved into board docs, they pulled all of our policies in. We did so anywhere you see mess up formatting, it's probably because we were formatting and doing something else at the same time. Their cost there will be, I want to say somewhere around $1,500. We'll get an actual contract for you to review. The bigger question is probably related to these modules. So I'll tell you what I know about them. And there's probably at least 3 that you really don't, you're going to need them no matter what. The meetings one is obviously the one you're going to use the most often. That's going to be the piece where your agendas are going to live. When you purchase the meetings module, you can use it, but also if down the road you were to go to committees or form any other subgroups, you can put other meeting groups in and utilize it. But that meetings piece is probably a non-negotiable. If you're going to switch, you're going to need it. The policy piece, we could do it a lot of different ways. It's really handy having it connected in board docs. I think with Assembly's, the way theirs is set up, there's the ability to link policy to your agenda items, which could be really helpful. There's also things as the person helping manage it right now, like next week when you review 60 or 70 policies, when you approve them, we have to go back in and touch each one to get it 3 or 4 clicks to get it actually to go active. They have the ability to do a batch where you can approve all policies that are in draft. So there's some nice pieces there. And the other one that you probably are going to need is the document one. Unless you choose to do your document library different. And I think we would probably suggest that we do some cleanup of the document library with some input from you all when we make that transition. But in my mind, those 3 probably need no matter what. That cost comes to about $14,300. Currently, you're paying about $9,000 for board docs. The other ones that are there, the planning module is really built for you to develop your strategic plan in or to keep board goals in. It will allow you not only to keep the goals, but also to track progress towards those goals, which is something that the board may see as beneficial, I don't know, or maybe something that's beneficial down the road. Right now, we've got a ton of tools doing some of that. So it could even be something that you come back and add in year 2 or 3. The communication piece would allow any board communication to be done within Assembly. Again, it's a nice add-on, but I'm not sure it's completely necessary with how you've operated, but could be something to consider. John?
Yeah, I was going to say the communications is the only additional one beyond the 3 that you mentioned that I would lean towards because it was, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, this is what when we're in compliance with state law, because people get to say, hey, I want to be notified when there's a meeting and all that good stuff. This communications will manage that list and send notifications, I believe.
Yes, you're right.
And I think that's money well spent to make sure we're in compliance with state law. And again, make the clerk's life less burdensome. The only other thing I'd really add in talking about this company, because one of my fears with service providers like this is, are they just positioning themselves to be bought up by the next mega product owner, which is we currently consume the mega product owner who is buying everybody else up. And due to their ownership structure, that's not going to change. So again, I have more of a feeling that they'll stay focused on what we need. Drawbacks, I shouldn't say drawbacks, but just notice like searching other boards' policies. That's a really cool feature. We'll be the first in Kansas. So we're not gonna, it'll be great to know what's going on in Georgia, I guess, but we won't really get to leverage that.
The only other module that we hadn't mentioned is the evaluations one. And it's basically set up for board evaluations, or if you wanted to do superintendent evaluations within the system, you could. So I guess what I would probably ask from you all is for some feedback on what do you see as beneficial, so that we can make sure we get a contract requested for you to consider. Or do you have questions, or is there an area that we could either speak to more or gather more information to help you with a decision in November or December?
This is gonna be a dumb question. I'm not a tech guy. Is this web-based? Would you have an app?
It's web-based.
Web-based.
Yeah, it's web-based.
Does have an app that I believe works on iPad only currently, but the rest of it would be web-based.
Well, if it works on iPad only, it's dead to me.
Yeah.
No, I think your
Yeah.
recommendation of meetings, policies, documents, or apps, I agree with you. I would put communications in there too. I think those are the ones that we need to start with. But they're a la carte pricing model. If we decide it need it later, they'll turn it on for us.
And this would be a 1-year agreement too, so if you decided you want to add more, like John said, we can add at any time, or if we find out we purchased one that we're not utilizing, you could make that decision as well.
Rachel, can you tell us how many people are on your official list and how often you get additions?
I have 3 people on my list.
Okay. And do you see that change? I mean, I'm guessing people have to like request every year, or?
No, they get it until they email me and ask to be removed from it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's where if we all blow away tomorrow, the system will keep notifying, it will keep us in compliance. And I know that's $1,700 to do it, but I don't want to get yelled at the state because we didn't let people know.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like $560 a person for a year. So I feel like that could be one in my opinion, that we could add as we grow bigger and those requests get more. Maybe we're like, hold on, wait, this makes more money sense, but $560 for our 3 people. And I'm not sure how much time it takes you, so I guess we could figure that in, but it seems a little.
Well, but this is the noticing to us and that stuff too.
We can check a little bit more into what that capability would be.
Yeah.
And what I might recommend, if it's okay, is that we request contract with both options, let you see what the total cost is and make a determination. And that way we can verify what can actually be done in the communication side and what can be done in the other modules before you make a decision.
Yeah, if we can confirm the communication portion, whether the internal people, because
I agree with you.
If all the tools that are in there, if all the tools that are in there where it's it's assigned to Nathan, ding, 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 Nathan, if all the notifications and all that stuff only work with the communication module, then I would say we absolutely need it from a workflow standpoint, because it's sitting there going, you got something to do. And like with us, hey, the meeting's been published, it's ready for us to look at. So, but I hear you on $560 a person is a lot.
I think that migrating the data sounds very cost effective.
I would hope so. So what I'm hearing from you all, and tell me if I'm wrong, but right now we're not really interested in the evaluations or the planning piece. That could be something down the road that you consider. But we'll request contracts, one with communication included and one with it not included. And they normally have a pretty quick turnaround. So if we get it before the Friday update, we'll include it that way. I also know Mrs. Melius had asked the other day for some school districts that are currently utilizing it. We'll add that into your Friday update as well. So you have that information to consider. And then we'll plan on bringing it back probably as a discussion/action item at the November meeting.
And can we get just a little bit of details on what it looks like without the communication module versus with it?
Yeah, we'll go back and
help.
research a little bit further, just so we're not telling you wrong.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Dr. Robinson, is there any background you can share with us? I know it comes out of the Georgia Association of School Boards, right? So what does a school board in Georgia pay for the service? Do they pay?
I haven't asked.
And how do they pay would be a question for them, right? The other question I would have for them is on rate increases. Can they give us some type of idea historically what the rate increases look like as far as a CAGR over time? And can we get that locked down to a CPI or whatever the increase ceiling would be? Yeah, I was kind of thinking multi-year too, for further discount. And then the last item is, outside of Georgia, is this kind of go to your question, outside of Georgia, what are some of the other states and the school districts that are using it? We'll be the first in Kansas. Can we negotiate something with them then that we're the toehold for them in Kansas and we get some type of spiff?
It's always worth an ask, right?
It's always worth asking for, right? Because they're going to use us as their anchor tenant and go after every school board in Kansas.
I don't know, Josh, tell me if you think I'm just way off here. These people are just really interested in doing this work. They're not, quite honestly,
they're not a sales organization.
No, they're
more interested in getting it right, which is part of what we liked about them.
They're different in a good way, in a very
They have been around for a little while. They were one of the groups considered when Spring Hill purchased Board Docs in 2018. They were one of the finalists then. So to John's point earlier,
We have Board Docs.
they're not looking to be bought out. They're looking to get it right and to continue to do the work. So.
Yeah, because when I asked about, upgrading the search functionality, and I said, okay, what's your fee schedule, and give that all to me. And he's like, no, it sounds like a great idea. We'll just kind of do it. I mean, it was.
It's worth it.
I think these are all great questions, and I'm not trying to discourage. But I think they're more counting on us going to the state convention and being like, hey, what you got? It's terrible. You should try our new thing. I think they're more worried about word of mouth.
And I want a finder's fee.
Fair enough.
Any other thoughts?
Sharon, do you remember maybe why you didn't go that way back?
Well, I know we were using Board Docs when I started because that's the only system I've used. So I know we looked at some other things. One of the board members was kind of leading the charge, but I don't think there was anything that seemed like it was worth the hassle of changing. I think we had some new people coming on and stuff. That's my recollection of it, but we've been using it since way before I was here.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll want for them is what's the implementation date of the enhanced search functionality.
Okay. Do you feel like you got enough direction, sir?
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome.
Thank
Okay,
you.
well, thank you. Okay, let's move on to 8.80, the superintendent search firm, RFP. I have an update, Greg Goheen. He called me this week and said that there were a delay in getting this out. And he has now sent it out, so I had to update some of this for him. He's sent it to 8 of the groups that have helped Kansas schools. It's posted on our website. We should have everything back by this Friday. And we will move forward. So our timeline has changed. So we'll move forward and see it and we can choose, we can see it at the November 3rd meeting, which is a work session, or we can wait to November 10th to see everything and possibly make a decision then or hold off.
If the RFP response date is this, had to get updated to the 7th, it looks like. So I think we have to do the
The
10th.
7th, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So we have to do okay.
It has to be on the 10th. I'm so sorry. Yes.
That's okay.
Well, and Nicole, just to clarify, Greg got it out on Monday, right? That's when he got everything sent out on Monday. And the Friday deadline for this week. Last Monday. Last Monday.
Let me, I will tell you, Greg and I played, it wasn't Monday. I believe it was Wednesday. Let me
Okay,
just look.
okay, but anyway, the point I was making is this Friday is the deadline for any of these firms then to get back to us with any clarifying questions, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. He got it out to everyone on Friday, the October 24th. They have till this Friday to send questions, clarifying questions, anything like that. And then their final date to submit their full proposal is November 7th. Yeah, so I think it's off about a week from what we originally planned. So yeah, I wanted to give everyone an update so that it had changed a little bit. Okay. That's my update. Any questions or thoughts? Okay. Perfect. Okay, moving on to 9.01, approve amended DLR contracts.
I'll move to approve those.
Second.
All right, there's a motion, a second to approve the amended DLR contracts. Any further discussion? Rachel, please take the vote.
Mr. Ewing,
Yes.
Mrs. Milius,
Yes.
Mr. Hull,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
approved.
All right, moving on to 9.02, approval of bids for phase 1 of bond classroom additions.
Madam President, I move that the board approve the bids for phase 1 of the elementary school contracts as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Rachel, please take the vote.
Mrs. Milius,
Yes.
Mr. Hull,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Ewing,
Yes.
approved.
Okay, 9.03 enterprise lease approval.
I did have one question. So we added 2 vehicles last year? I don't remember that. Was that? Am I imagining that?
That was a question I had last week. I also didn't remember that.
Do we know?
Yeah, I think it was last year. They went through enterprise to get them. One is actually bought through SPED. Mary Larson has that vehicle for 18, 21-year-old program to get those kids back and forth between work sites and also JCCC. The other one is outside the ESC, but I don't know the background of that one.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
we're capturing that
Yes.
and all that kind of good stuff. So there are 2. Okay. I'll go ahead and move to approve it.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any discussion? Rachel, please take the vote.
Mr. Hull,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn, Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Ewing,
Yes.
Mrs. Milius,
Yes.
approved.
Okay. Moving on to.
Madam President, can we have a 5-minute?
Yes, let's
recess?
take we'll recess until 7:45. Okay, we are back in session. And moving on to 10.01 finance report.
Yes, this is the first one that something new we incorporated this year. And since we are now completed the first quarter of the fiscal year, we thought it would be appropriate time to get an updated financial report. And this financial report will kind of be given monthly, the second meeting of each month, kind of tell you where we're at. And he is trying to gear the report to information that will be relevant, that will be consistent, and that we can track both where we're at currently in terms of where we're on course with the rest of the fiscal year, but also historically how we may have compared to where we were at the same point in the prior year. So, and this will evolve a little bit, but this time I'll turn it over to Mr. Holder and he can give us his inaugural finance report.
Thank you, Dr. Luttrell. As he mentioned, this is a new endeavor. So my plan tonight is to run through this, both the revenue and expense lines and some of the summaries at the bottom and explain those. And then the hope is that this is something that we will have monthly and that we can use it. And what I like about this, and I am certainly open to discussion as we move forward, what I like about this is over time, it becomes very repetitive. It gives us good, consistent information. It helps us identify anomalies, areas in which we're seeing things that maybe didn't happen that way the year before. And it's an excellent opportunity then to explain why that is, or in some cases to research why that is occurring. So I'm going to take you through my methodology here. This report combines a lot of things, from previous experiences and then applying that to the state of Kansas as well. What you're looking at is a revenue and expense report through September 30th, 2025. So as Dr. Luttrell mentioned, it's through the first quarter. Each month it will be updated and it will show a reflection of where we are at this point in the year. And then I think very importantly, a reflection of where we were at this point last fiscal year. And again, as we go through time, and especially the longer I'm here and the more history I accumulate with the district, that becomes a very valuable tool moving forward. So start with revenue. And then also I'll talk about why I chose some of these items. You'll notice operating fund, I have general fund and LOB. Obviously, those are our two largest funds. Those are truly pure operating funds. Use those to pay primarily salaries and benefits, but then also supplies, purchase services, some equipment that's purchased in the district. Special education is the second one. When you combine those first two columns, so operating fund, which is general and LOB, and special ed, that is well over 80% of really what our operating expenses encompass. Now, I am leaving out a very important piece if you were just to truly look at revenues and expenses, and that's virtual. But why am I leaving that out? Well, because that is in general a pass-through. All right, because of the situation that we have contracting out our virtual schools, yes, we get a piece of revenue from that, but everything that's budgeted on the revenue and expense side is simply a pass-through. And I can give a number quarterly or yearly on that revenue. But if you were to look at our revenues and expenses overall, yeah, that's over a $10 million figure, but it's truly one that it's passing through the majority of it. So let's look at those two funds, the estimated budget. And I'll talk about revenue, and then some of it relates down below in expense. But I'll try to go through all of revenue first and then get down to expense and tie some of it back in. The estimated budget is exactly what you see if you look in our budget book for the general fund and the LOB fund combined. That $64.261 million is to the penny what it is in our budget book. And then you'll see our actual revenue. You see the comparison to last year. So a little bit below where we were through September, but just over 0.25%. So nothing to be concerned about at this point. You'll notice on special education revenue, just over 5.5% compared to 3.5% from the revenue perspective. That's lower, and you'll notice when we go over this, it'll actually be at our December meeting for October. You'll notice sped pick up from the revenue side because we received our first state aid payment in special education in October. So you'll see that number rise. Debt service or our bond and interest fund, you'll notice that in comparison to last year, we're up, but that's primarily because of the bond issue, and we made a deposit of $2 million into that bond and interest fund. So if you back that out, you're going to be very close to the percentage that we were at. So what that revenue really consists of at this point, for the most part, is that $2 million, as well as we received our state aid payment for bonds 2016 and prior. We received that in July. There's a little bit of tax revenue in there, but the majority of the rest of that revenue will come in between now and June, and primarily when we receive our tax receipts. Capital outlay, again, as a comparison to last year, 4.3% versus 3.02%. We have not received the state aid payment as part of that yet. We will start receiving those, but again, the majority of that revenue will be through local tax collection. I'll wait till we get to expenses for that, but there is a key distinction there with capital outlay. Bond fund. I included bond here. We will receive more detailed reports on bond in terms of staying on budget. But from a revenue perspective, what I wanted to point out today is, and something that I think we'll like tracking over time, over the next few months, is, the estimated budget there includes our interest earnings, all right, for our bond fund. And so the 66 million is something that we can track. And as we go through, hopefully we are receiving that revenue and we're hitting 66. And then my hope would be that we're surpassing that by the end of June, which would be the end of our fiscal year. That is money that we're earning, that eventually we'll have a choice, which would be a very good choice as to how to spend that money. All right. So that's where that 66 million comes from. Moving across, nutrition services. Again, now why are these three columns here? Nutrition services and special reserve are pretty easy. Nutrition services is a standalone fund. Now, Kansas has many standalone funds, but it is a significant one. It's one that the state tracks. They track. You can't keep more than 3 months of expenses in those reserves. But it's also a fund that we want to pay attention to from this point going forward, in particular because the COVID funds skewed most public school districts' nutrition services funds, because the revenues that we were receiving were way more than typically you received, especially for a district like Spring Hill. With the lower free and reduced lunch count, all students were reimbursed at free and reduced lunch. So it was a huge difference in revenue. And you'll see that reflected at the bottom, but if I was to go back 2 years or even 3 years, you would see an even larger spread there on our nutrition services balance. But that's something that I think, again, as we go through, it's a good indicator to track. And right now we're a little bit ahead of where we were at this point last year. Special reserve fund, that's our insurance, specifically related to our medical insurance. As you know, we had a good year last year. We're tracking well this year. That's one of the reasons why we were able to keep our premiums the same, our board paid premiums. That's not happening a lot out there as it relates to medical insurance. And so it's a very good thing that hopefully we can continue to trend in the right direction. And then the last column is it is an assortment of the larger funds that you can hold a balance in for the Spring Hill District. And that's the miscellaneous grants, the special liability, special assessment, which is related to construction that we have. And we do actually levy a small amount in special assessment. And then student materials. Again, an area that you can carry a balance in, but you have to watch those funds to make sure that you have enough, that you're generating enough revenue and that your expenses aren't exceeding those to a point year to year, because the goal is to not make a transfer from the general fund into that student materials fund. Moving down to expenses. Operating, again, the estimated budget is exactly the same for our operating. That's really a function of the state budgeting mechanism in Kansas. You are required to budget that same amount. As we watch this, what we'll really be watching is the trend as it compares to last year, because that's going to be pretty instructive to us as we move throughout this fiscal year. You'll notice that right now, in general and LOB, we're a little bit under where we were at the same point last year. So that's a good thing. Hopefully we'll continue to see that. Special education, we're a little bit up. All right, we're over a percentage point higher than we were at the same point in fiscal year 25. You'll notice that our revenues are up. The thing that we will watch here on the expense side, though, is what you see there, that 9.851,500 is our legal max and sped. And I'm using the term legal max. That's our maximum published budget. And so we would hope to be able to stay within that number. If not, we would need to republish. And you'll notice there that our budgeted revenues versus expenses in special education this year are about just under $350,000 over on the expense side. So we're already budgeting to spend more than our revenue is taking in. So both those funds will bear, both the revenues and expenses will bear worth watching. Debt service, again, that's the payments that we've made up to this point in the year. And that's more of a function of part of the refunding. So that the debt service is really more watching on the revenue side, because we know that expense budget for debt service should remain consistent for this fiscal year. All right. So don't get thrown off by the percentage difference too much. That should be 100% or just under 100% at the end of this fiscal year. But what I do want to point out on the expense side and capital outlay is something, again, that we'll want to track very closely. You'll notice that my expense budget there mirrors our revenue. Why did I do that? Well, because if you look at our published budget, you'll see that our published budget in capital outlay is actually almost $9 million. That's a function of having the budget authority to spend it. But just because you have the authority doesn't mean that you necessarily want to spend it. And so my thought process there is I do not want to exceed our revenue in capital outlay. In fact, my goal would be that we build that capital outlay balance. So when I put the estimated budget for actual expense there, that's why you see it mirror what our revenue would be, because that is actual revenue that we should take in. We can track that throughout the year then, and it becomes a very useful tool in helping us know that we are going to stay under that target and that our revenues are meeting or slightly exceeding possibly that targeted revenue. Bond fund on the expense side, I will say on the revenue side, I feel like it's a lot more important or for us to look at that, because the $20 million of the bond budget is, I mean, we won't spend $20 million this fiscal year, likely, just because of the timing. We only have 8.5 months left. No, we have 8 months left, basically. And you can see what we've spent there in the bond fund. So that is really more of an estimate of what we'll spend this fiscal year. But I included the revenue because I do feel like that's a very useful tool for us to track how much interest are we gaining each month towards that $66 million goal? So, and it's a way for us to track where we're at on our bond expenses as well. Again, moving over to nutrition services, you'll see there on the expense side, again, that's a good thing. Expenses are a little lower than this point last year. Revenues are a little up. So that's a good trend that we hope to see continue. Now, I will tell you, in these funds, there can be variances related to invoices. Nutrition services can have large invoices for food purchases, and that can depend on timing, throughout the year. Maybe we paid that in October, all right, or we've paid it in the last few weeks. This year, we paid it in September last year. It's still, though, over time, a good tool for us to use to track those expenses. Special reserve fund is an apples to apples comparison when you look at it on a monthly basis. And again, trending just under where we were at this point last year, but a positive sign, right, that we're on track. Because if we repeat last fiscal year in the special reserve fund, we're going to have another very good year. And then on the call it the potpourri of funds, and on the far right, you'll see there percentage-wise we're a little bit higher, but again, part of that can be due to timing of particularly student materials when those are purchased, because in the other funds we really haven't had a lot of expense. I can tell you that the large majority of that has been in student materials, and that can just be a function of when those items are purchased. All right. Go down to the very bottom, and we're going to stay on the far right, those restricted funds. Technically in Kansas, we have a lot of restricted funds, but these again are the ones that we do build balances in, and that particularly the first two we do want to monitor. Nutrition services, you'll see that decline as a comparison to last year. That is, again, simply that's a trend that you would have seen happen if we looked at FY25 compared to FY24. But it is a trend that we want to monitor, because in this fiscal year will be instructive. It would be nice if we could close that gap a little bit, but we want to try to make sure that our nutrition services fund is self-sustaining. And that's the ultimate goal. You don't want to carry a large balance. The state doesn't want you to carry a large balance, but you don't want to be supplementing it from the general education fund every year. And so that's why it's worth watching. If that $500,000 drops to $200,000 at the end of this fiscal year, then by the end of FY27, you could find yourself in that position of having to supplement that. And so that's why we're monitoring it. Special reserve fund, again, that's a reflection of the good year that we had, because what you're really looking at is September 30th, 2024 to September 30th, 2025, and you can see how much our fund balance has increased in the special reserve fund. And then miscellaneous grants, special assessment, student material. The one important thing to note there, because you see that big discrepancy, 700,000 versus 1.46 million. The largest reason for that is back in FY24, we levied 0.4 mils in special assessment. Last fiscal year, it was down to 0.11, and this year we're at 0.09. That may be, and so the intent is, we want to have enough in there to pay our special assessment, but carrying that larger balance was something, when the mill goes from 0.4 to now, well, last year it was 0.1, that's a fairly significant drop in revenue in those funds. Going to the left, far left, at the bottom. So what you see there is a current fund balance, our operating and special education. I'm using those two buckets again because when you take out virtual, that's over 80% of our operating expenses. When you carve out nutrition services, special reserve, that's over 90%. So it's the largest majority of our operating expenses. and you don't be alarmed at the negative numbers, all right? And it is possible that you could get to June and still have a negative number. All right. Now, our goal over time is for that not to happen. But did that happen last year? Yes. All right. A little bit. It is truly a reflection. So how do I get that number? And that's something that I wanted to explain quickly is if you look at it's simply adding the expenses in those two funds. And then you are subtracting those against the revenues that you've received. But then you have to account for what you started the year with. In general, we always start at zero, but in LOB, we had a fund balance, and in special education, we had a fund balance. So that's why if you just add expenses, subtract the revenues, it's going to be a lot higher than the negative 680,000. But I'm including those fund balances because we had fund balances in LOB as well as special education. So again, this is a number that we can track every month. We'll see the movement on that number. We are in a better position than we were last year at this time. I will tell you though that this number becomes, because I'm using last year's data set, and so I will feel more comfortable a year from now when I'm using my data set from this year as the last fiscal year comparison. The things like, debt service, capital outlay, those things are pretty comparable year over year, but this one is something that I'll know exactly where we were in those areas when I'm doing this a year from now. So that is a lot of information. That's the longer version though of what I would do month to month. As Dr. Luttrell mentioned, I'll provide this every month. I'm happy to give this every month, but if this is something you want me to provide every month and talk about quarterly, or we can do it monthly for a while. And I'm also open to tweaking this, because again, this is the first stab at it. So any questions?
Number one, thank you so much for putting this together. It is hugely helpful and insightful in understanding what's going on. Just in terms of getting to a place of having goals where we can meet our future obligations without such large bonds to pay for maintenance. So specific kind of questions / concerns I have, because when I was going over this, I was really wrestling because, this is for our fiscal year, this is really Q1, but I can't look at this and go, okay, I should be at 25%. It doesn't make any sense. So I appreciate the comparison to last fiscal year, and I'll like a specific question / issue is, I know we have a large number of open spots still in SPED. Are we still at 10, a dozen? It's somewhere around there. It's a lot of people. And so, I get concerned about our budgeted number on that going, oh, that should actually be much bigger than it really is. And we're already looking to, by my count, be 20% over, somewhere around there, than budgeted. So just calling that out. The other actual specific question I have is, when we look at general LOB revenues versus actual expenses, we've obviously spent more than $2 million than we've taken in, right? Cash out the door. Where's that money come from?
John, I had the same concern. It's not just in general and LOB, but SPED, debt service, and capital outlay. We have spent more than we've brought in. Where do we find that extra cash laying around?
It's held within all the funds. But on paper, if you had to, if not on paper, if all of your funds were held in separate bank accounts, then yes, you would be underwater in some of those funds. But when you look at all the funds that we have combined, and remember, we carry over balances like capital outlay, a fairly significant balance. Oh, I believe over $3 million off the top of my head from last. So those are fund balances that we have in the bank that help support, get us through. You have to remember too that it, and this is the same across some districts, but particularly in the Johnson County area, a lot of our, some of our revenues will come in as it relates to property taxes. And we don't receive the majority of those until later in the year. Yeah. But yeah.
So we do cash accounting as long as we have cash, we spend
Modified-
money.
It's modified cash.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So do you see, could you tell us when you see the biggest influx? Is that January and
January.
June?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Those are the 2 months.
Yeah, and that kind of gets me to the, how do we normalize for that in this? You know what I mean? In terms of our revenue collection isn't behind up instead of year over year, being more genuinely forecasted to. In November, I expect we will have received net, whatever, $30 million versus, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
Okay.
Yeah. And that is,
Do you feel like that's a place you're going to be able to get to
Yes.
over this?
yeah,
Okay.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is something that year over year, I can definitely provide that. That is something I kind of need to live through.
Lived experience.
And
totally
so,
get it.
yeah. And then I can have a good idea of where we're at. I will say that part of that is a little more challenging because a lot of our tax revenue funnels through the state and then comes back to us. Whereas past experiences, it all comes. So it's very easy to track. This is where we were last fiscal year in operating levy. This is where we were this year collected. But yeah, we can get there.
Okay.
Sure. And I would say that, Mr. Chitwood, that would likely be like an additional supplement that I could do around those tax collection times, not necessarily part of this. But again, I do want to emphasize like that. I know this is a lot right now, but as we live this over time, this will become, I feel like, hope very instructive.
Oh, no, this is,
Yeah.
I am over the moon happy with this. Don't take any of my questions as anything otherwise. But you know me, yes, and
Yeah.
I like it and we can do more.
So currently we have two documents in our consent agenda, clerk's report and treasurer's report. Which one of these are statutorily required? And is your new report going to replace any of those?
No, my plan is to keep those reports. Will be a supplement.
Okay.
To those items. Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions for Mr. Older? Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Very exciting. Okay, let's move on. 11.01, future discussion items. Any adds or removals? Okay. Okay. Oh, John, anybody? Well, let's move on to 12.01, board work calendar. I had a couple things here. It looks like on our board work calendar and our annual calendar, we should be looking at the safety handbook. Is that Can you guys tell me if that's coming? I can see there's an approval for it, but I don't see us discussing it.
So as we look back, I don't know that the safety handbook has been reviewed or approved for a couple years. And talking with Mr. Williams and Mr. Delphia, our intention with the elements that were in it were like how to file workers' comp, kind of there are things that are showing up now in our classified handbook and would probably fit better there, and having the board review the classified handbook annually and approve them that way rather than having a separate standalone safety handbook. But if the board prefers, we can task Mr. Williams and Mr. Delphia on putting an updated one together.
I remember years ago, safety was a big, a key piece of one of the board members. That was a priority for them. Do you remember, Sharon, what history is here?
Well, I think it was probably Doug and Nels both were kind of pushing for this because we really didn't have any robust safety protocols like they were expecting. And it also was something that our insurance people were over the moon about. So I think if it's something you could incorporate into classified staff handbooks or whatever, that's probably would be sufficient. We also had, that was part of Tim's job, was construction and safety. So he helped develop those processes and all of that stuff too.
I do remember him giving a safety update during every bond step update.
Yeah, that was part of it too, though, I think, was the bond projects and the safety updates, but their contractors have their own safety protocols, so they just were part of the reports.
Yeah. So from that, Dr. Robinson, do you think that it's going to come to us? Do you think that it's just going to move to the classified?
Our recommendation would be that we move it to the classified and certified handbooks, and we put those on the work calendar for April.
Perfect.
So that's our intention. If you want them separate, obviously we can do it either way, but we feel like you're going to see a lot of duplication in what's in both handbooks. So it would make more sense to have them in one spot for our staff to refer to rather than having a separate handbook.
I think that sounds good. Rachel, will you update our annual to have that moved?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. I also noticed on December 8th on our website, it actually says our meeting is at the ESC. Could we get that updated as well? Other than that, I feel like we are on track. And other than KASB is around the corner, and I wanted to give a reminder that negotiation trainings are held there for the negotiation team. Is that do we call it negotiation trainings? Is that what it? Yeah. The training that you have to be on that team is there. And I think it's April and John that is on that team. Please make sure you complete that while you're there. Or I think there's options to do it online as well. And I think you have to annually take that training.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Any other board work calendar thoughts? Questions? Okay. Moving on to 13.01 Board of Education member reports.
I'll go first. I attended the Forest Spring Site Council meeting. It was at the end of September, so it's been a while. It was actually just like a few days after a couple meetings ago, but turnout was low for that. But the discussion was really good. They went over the Kansas assessment data, and then they introduced a new program that they're doing over there. It's called the Ideal program. It's stands for Individual Determination Through Empowerment and Learning. And it's a special education initiative providing one-on-one support for students who need additional assistance. So the staff was really excited about being a pioneer for that program. So I think they have 3 kids in there right now, but they will add more if they need to. And then another fun thing that I've been doing is I've been volunteering at Timber Sage around, 2 or 3 times a month during the reading and math win times. So just working with small groups of kiddos, doing different reading and math games and things, and then also assisting with kindergarten recess monitoring. So that's always fun. And then I attended the State of the District breakfast. I saw all of you there. I just wanted to say that it was a really great breakfast. It was a really great turnout, really helpful updates on different things going on in our district with our goals and progress. So that's all I had.
I as well attended the State of the District. It was great. It was wonderful. I won't say anything else on it. We did She's Site Council. We did the new process of approving the minutes from the last meeting, so I can report She's is doing that. They were really excited about the improvements they had made, both in reading and math, year over year. And, just one of the different things they're doing is sending their WIGs out through their students' WIGs, wildly important goals. And they're working on improving communication with parents. So all good stuff still going on. And I think they're pretty excited for the upcoming construction.
All I'll say, I attended the State of the District breakfast too, and I think it was, and Nathan actually pointed it out to me too, who I actually, respect somebody who's been in education as long as he has. Commend all 7 of us actually being there to support not only the chef organization, but our district as a whole. That made me proud. I attended the career day at the high school and they changed things a little bit. I should say a lot, simply because I was overwhelmed when I walked in the door first thing in the morning. They basically were sending every class through. And it was very difficult for me to make my rounds to be able to thank all of the employers because they were just completely flooded by students. But I was able to do that and incredibly grateful for the partners that we have in our community. The military, all 4 military branches were there, and all of the different employers that are represented there. I think Leah is the one that puts that together, and the changes that she made this year compared to the attendance and what I saw last year was a complete 180-degree turnaround. So that was a highlight.
September 25th, I was at Wolf Creek Site Council meeting. Again, went over test scores and actually walked through their crisis management safety plans. Got to hear the Centegix alarm go off and the lights flash. Everybody that was in attendance was showed where the AED was in case there was ever anything happen while any of us were at the school and needed to help somebody out. That's pretty much it. They have mentioned that they have different teams to handle different crises, I guess. They call out whatever color team that is to respond to medical or behavioral or something like that. So that's it.
I got to attend, I know several of you did also, but the Rise and Best walkthroughs with Dr. Weber. I went through Timber Sage, Woodland Springs, and She's, the elementary school, and it was just mind-blowing what every school is doing and accommodating and making sure that every student in that building has the best day they can. and the way the staff molds and changes to also make sure that they all have the best day they can. And so a huge thanks to Dr. Weber for putting that together, because it was okay, life altering might be dramatic, but I think it was life altering. I mean, it was very educational. So I appreciate you doing that. I also attended the Spring Hill Middle School Site Council, and there's a lot of great things going on in that building, a lot of excitement. I know some of us remember that building was on the struggle bus for a few years, and I just feel like Mr. Mink has done an incredible job of being the leader that building needs to make it feel like a warm, successful middle school, and it definitely feels like that. And then most recent, I attended the Spring Hill Elementary School Glow Night. I think you guys will remember last year I attended Candyland there, and I was blown away by what they did. They somehow topped themselves this year. Glow Night was crazy. The lights were dimmed. They had hallways lit with glow noodles. They had glow in the dark bowling it was incredible. The PTO set up a station and sold glow in the dark items, different light up crowns and glasses and things. So as you went in, you really got to be a part of the glow night by just purchasing something. It was like $1 or $2, I don't know. So anyway, it was just a phenomenal deal. I believe the idea came from a teacher-student collaboration, which I thought was even more special. So it was super, super neat to participate in that.
I attended something new for KASB called Board Leader Table Talk. It's kind of a lunch and learn situation. The topic last week or 2 weeks ago was superintendent evaluation. So it had full, since it was online, like a Zoom sort of meeting, had full everyone participation, and then you were able to break out into small groups and talk. So it's interesting. I'm interested to see where it goes and the other topics that are coming. Hoping for participation maybe from more districts that are our size, because it was a lot of smaller districts. So some of their were a little bit farther ahead in some of those processes. But again, I think it's all going to depend on topics, and just exciting to connect with other board members that are looking for thoughts and perspectives. So I also got to attend the KBA Band Festival that our wonderful band performed at, and our band did wonderful. It was really great, but honestly, the shining star goes to those band parents. It is an all day, like sun up to sundown sort of thing. I mean, awards are at 10 p.m. and the day starts at 7. So it is one of those days. And they feed the kids, which is also awesome. I can't remember if it was at this one or the prior week's competition. A man had a trailer. One of the parents had a trailer with a barbecue grill on. Like, they are feeding these kids chef meals, and it's awesome to see. As our band grows and does better, the parent participation just really elevating. So that was really awesome. And I have been attending our chef tailgates before each of our football games, and I'd encourage everyone to go. It's fun to connect with other parents and see what chef's doing, along with you get free dinner. And this week's is they're going to host a semi trunk or treat since it's on Halloween, and have a chili cook-off. So there's chili, and you can participate in the chili cook-off. So if you plan to go and you'd like to be a part of that, I think they're putting out the sign up or invite here shortly. So keep an eye out on probably the chef website or wherever they post that. So really fun way to see what chef's doing. So.
I didn't go to any site councils or anything, but it was probably my last date of this district breakfast as a board member. So just looking back over some of these things over many years, that event has just become just so well done. And I think someone close to the event told me that Scott Peavy did a lot of work on that event. So want to give you a little shout out there, Mr. Peavy, and made someone's life a lot easier. And then also, I just on the band comment, Keith and I were kind of talking. There was a time, even before Mr. Williams was here, that the band was down to maybe 30 kids or something. And so I know that we've seen like big gains recently, but we've seen really, really big gains over the course of 15 years. And I know having a band kid, some people that's their thing. And so it's really, really inspiring to see where those programs have come from and the dedication that the kids have, that they kind of have to, as a program, grow into it too, the expectation and everything. And so it's great to see the progression of some things over time too.
Okay, well, thank you guys. That was some great updates. Moving on, 14.01, superintendent's report.
Yeah. Yes, just a few quick items just to piggyback on the State of the District breakfast. I echo what everyone said, but I think most of all, everything that was displayed there definitely is a testament to the fact that truly our tagline, our theme of excellence every day truly is embedded in everything that we do. And the talents of our staff and students definitely make that very well known. And after the breakfast, like I said, we had, this is the first year that we as a school districts across the county have made a few seats available to other superintendents within the county and their foundation. And we did have attendance, at the event from at least one other superintendent within Johnson County and foundation as well, and received very high praise, about just the quality of our program. So again, a lot of effort goes into that. A lot of different people make that a success, but again, all starts at the top with the board setting that expectation. So again, it's going to continue to get better and better as we expand and try to build upon what we've showcased each year. Another thing that I want to talk about that is, time to say the district breakfast is about partnerships, but we also have coming up in a little over a week is our Spring Hill Chamber of Commerce, their annual gala with awards night and different things. It's going to be held, I believe it's Wednesday, November the 5th. Chamber of Commerce, as we know, is true for Spring Hill, is truly a great partner for our schools. And we do plan to be present at that evening event as we have been in prior years. And if you would like to attend that, if you haven't already, please feel free to RSVP that if it's not too late, to Mrs. Henderson, so we can attend that. But that's coming up. And then this is also a critical time. Our legislature will be convening in a little over two and a half months, first of the year. This is a time when organizations across the state, KSB, but even some of the school districts across the state, some of the different regions will all be writing platforms and what they feel should be the main talking points to stress to legislators whenever they have their opportunities during the session. Governor Kelly this year is even having a budget listening post here this fall, starting next week across the state. She's picked, I think 7 to 10 different locations, and she does have one scheduled for Johnson County, and I was asked to pass it along. It's open for elected officials, citizens to come and share. You do have to register for it. However, the one in Johnson County is slated for the same evening as our chamber event. But I think you could still send comments, that in, but it is going to be held at the Leawood Community Center at 6 p.m. on November the 5th. But we are we talked a few meetings ago about doing our own legislative platform. I still think we should probably look at doing that. I know that President Milius has been in contact. I know as far as Johnson County, some of the board leaderships in Johnson County are trying to arrange a meeting where the board president or vice president and superintendent can get together possibly as a group, at the upcoming KSB state meeting to kind of draft maybe what are some commonalities. And I'm going to be working with Mr. Peavy Dr. Robinson and some others internally to try to see if we can also craft some internal talking points ourselves that we can kind of take a mini plan and see what we can get the others to join into. But hopefully by the end of the December, no later than early January, we can have a platform that we can kind of buy into with talking points so that when we see our legislators through next session, we know what it is that we want to try to get across to them. I don't know, President Mitch, if you have anything you want to add on that particular?
No, I think it would be important to maybe at our next work session next week to add a discussion item to nail some of those priorities down, so that as we're speaking one with the other districts, but two, when we vote for what KSB is lobbying for, we kind of have a direction on what we'd like to stand for. So would anyone be opposed to adding a discussion item at next week's work session?
I think that'd be fine. I think the main things that we have usually advocated for in the past have been things that center around virtual education or the fact that we're one of few growing districts in the state. And it seems like those are hard things to advocate for because the majority of legislators do not represent growing districts. They do not represent districts with virtual education centers. And so those are hard sells sometime, but with Dr. Luttrell and getting the current year funding, it's possible if you get focused on it. So I think the more specific you can be, the easier it is for the legislators to kind of understand what it is that you need from them. So.
Like we need $7 million for special education that they didn't give us? That specific? Well, and that's why I'm bringing it up. I was being tongue in cheek about it, but toss that out there.
Yeah, I think there's I mean, in my opinion, there's a few things. So I say that, Rachel, could you add to our work session a discussion item next week related to legislative priorities? We can whittle it down to, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, so that when we go to KSB, it'll be easy for us to really advocate, because we're also going to have the ear or possibility to have the ear of some of our state school board reps. A lot of them are there as well. They usually have a lunch where you can sit and hear and it's an interactive question back and forth. One of my favorite sessions every year. So I suggest you guys, if you can find the time, get to that. It's super informational.
That's my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Luttrell. All right, we do need an executive session this evening.
Madam President.
John.
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick on this, okay? And it's simply because of an observation that I've had in the community, primarily on community web platforms, social media and things like that. And so what I'd like for you to do when you read the motion is to slow everything down. It's become kind of commonplace for us, right? And it is a requirement, but I want people to listen clearly to what it is that you're reading, because there's been false statements, innuendo, and misleading statements made on social media about what exactly happens when we're in executive session. And so I want people to understand exactly why it is that we do executive session, and it's actually in your motion.
Sure. No problem. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. So, Madam President, I will move that the board go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters of non-elected personnel to protect the privacy interests of an identifiable individuals, maybe plural, under COMA. Those to be in session include Board of Education members, Superintendent of Schools, and Assistant Superintendent of Schools, and administrators as requested. The executive session is to begin at 8:45 with the open meeting resuming at 9:15 at this place.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? So please take the vote.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Ewing,
Yes.
Mrs. Milius,
Yes.
Mr. Hole,
Yes.
approved.
Second.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Ewing,
Yes.
Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
approved.
All right, we're back in session. And we are adjourned.